The Seattle Sounders won the CONCACAF Champions League in 2022, but failed to qualify for the MLS Cup playoffs. Ending a 13-season playoff streak that started in 2009, the club's first season in MLS. In this rebuild, we will look to rewrite the 2022 season and win the Sounders its third MLS Cup. Now, when you look at the current Sounders squad, there are a lot of aging players who have been at the club since his first MLS Cup victory in 2016, such as Stephen Fry. He's an MLS veteran. He's been with Seattle since 2014, so he's been there for both MLS Cup victories. It's probably about time to turn the page and look for his replacement. Now, Jordan Morris, the Seattle native, turned heads when he was called up to the U.S. men's national team. Before he even turned pro, he chose Seattle over Werder Bremen. He's recovering from a second torn ACL. Now, Obed Vargas, a very promising young player, 16 years old, was starting as a 16-year-old. That's a really big feat, honestly. Nicolas Lodero, he joined the Sounders from Boca Juniors 2016, and he immediately led the club to its first MLS Cup trophy. Now, Christian Roldan, a player who was drafted by the club in 2015, a versatile midfielder. He's one of Berhalter's boys, so I'm going to look to transfer him out to get him to Europe and maybe push for starting spots for the U.S. men's national team. Now, Raul Diaz, Joey Sounders from the now defunct Monarcas de Morelia in 2018 and led the club to its second MLS Cup. And there's also Freddy Montero, top goal scorer in Sounders history. And now moving on to some of the objectives they want us to get. So we want to reach the playoff final, but I kind of want to have a bit more develop in this first season. So we'll at least try to push to have a decent result in this season. We're going to scout United States and Mexico, as that's just kind of common now. So many American players nowadays, it kind of makes sense. You see it quite often. So, of course, we transfer listed Raul Diaz, and he's going to head out to Brighton. Interesting move for him, but a lot of money for an aging striker. I mean, he's getting over the 30 mark, so $18,000 is a good move, in my opinion, as we can look for a replacement. And obviously, eventually, we're going to get the guy in the thumbnail. So Facundo Fares is our first option at the 9. He's a very interesting player. There's been a lot of recent players as well coming from the Argentinian League to MLS. I mean, you got guys like Thiago Almada, who was rumored to be going to big clubs in Europe, ended up going to Atlanta United instead, Ezequiel Barco. So this has been a very common transfer we've seen recently. Young Argentinian players moving to MLS before potentially looking for a move to Europe. And $10,000 is definitely a good move for him. He's going to move into the starting lineup right away as the striker. We weren't able to get rid of Christian Roldan at the start, but you'll see Vargas is going to, until we can maybe find a loan for him to help his development a little bit, he's going to be there as a center mid. Our other designated player, Rusnak, so we did get rid of one of them, Rui Diaz. But Rusnak is still another technically designated player. But eventually we were able to get the transfer out for Christian Roldan for $6.5 million and get Vargas loaned out to help with his development a little bit. So we actually have a very big rivalry match against Portland Timbers. I think I consider it one of the best rivalries in MLS because it's a very organic rivalry. It's in the Pacific Northwest, very close together. And there's been a lot of heated matchups in the playoffs and Open Cup, as well as in league. I've always enjoyed watching this, and it's really nice that they have added the Providence Park. And it's an interesting park because it's actually legitimately like a baseball field that's been kind of turned into slightly into like a soccer specific type of facility, and it's a lot of turf is used in Pacific Northwest because of the weather also. But Facundo Farias with a first chance here, and he's going to have a good go. It is saved quite comfortably in, but now again Farias and a lot of space. He's going to look to beat his man, and he has a good go, but a great save by the Portland goalkeeper to keep himself. Now, Leo Chu, very promising young Brazilian player, again, having some good build-up play. Farias does find Lodero, and he's going to finish that chance. So, yeah, good work, beautiful play from the side, and I think you're going to see a lot of that with these players. I mean, Lodero is a very fun player in real life. Obviously, he was a Uruguayan international. Just kind of recently, now he's had a bit more interest getting older. He's not featuring as much for the side. But Stephen Fry with a big save. It just come with so many big saves throughout his career in the playoffs especially. Another one, nice little reaction when tipping that over the bar. But it looks like Portland is kind of having the momentum here. They're going to work the ball around and eventually find a goal. I believe that was Sebastian Blanco, a player who has been incredible for Portland in their recent runs to win the MLS Cup. It's been a lot of these last few seasons. It has been kind of bouncing back between the Sounders and Timbers, it seems like, pushing for MLS Cup victories and a lot of times coming against each other in the playoffs. But Diego Chara, a player who's been at the club forever, it feels like, ends up finding Nizgola, I believe is how you pronounce it, and he's going to finish that, make it 2-1. And now it looks like Sounders are kind of running away with it, and they do make it 3-1. In the 75th minutes, unfortunately, we lose this big Open Cup matchup. And we do find a promising young striker in Pablo Ponce. I think a lot of this idea and this rebuild is just kind of having to turn the page of some of these older players. Guys like Rui Diaz, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, we see him walking out of the club, a club that he's been with for so many seasons. It's been since 2015. And it's going to be tough to see him go, but I think to try to make this rebuild a little bit more realistic, because I think with this squad we have, even at the moment, you could easily win the MLS Cup, and I want to make sure to develop Leo Chu, so we ended up switching him to the right mid spot, and you'll see now what the team looks like with Vargas out on loan. It's still pretty strong, you can see, especially the midfield is very good with Joao Paulo, Rusnak, Lodero, and then Chu on the right is going to be kind of a development player. And now we end up finding a future goalkeeper to be Stephen Fry's replacement in Brian Gibbs. And just 17 years old, already 66 overall, so we're going to sign him and look to loan him out. And he's 6'7". I have to say, tall goalkeepers are incredible in FIFA. If you guys have not played as much this year, tall goalkeepers are just wonderful. He's showing great potential, so I think next season he definitely is going to step in and take over Fry, who's already starting to go down, and he's 36 years old. In the end, you can see Atlanta United winning the Eastern Conference 68 points, Orlando City with 65 points. And we'll see the Western Conference, and it ended up being us in second, 64 points behind LA Galaxy on 69. Nice. So LA Galaxy has also come up, against Sounders all these years, because they've been both clubs have been good, were good at the same time, especially kind of in the peak years of LA Galaxy. Sounders always trying to just get over the hump and beat them. Just couldn't in the playoffs most of the times until some of the recent years. But moving forward to the playoffs, we saw a victory against San Jose Earthquakes in the first round, and now against LAFC in the second round we end up losing, unfortunately, 3-2. So a big loss against LAFC as we get knocked out of the playoffs. We were supposed to win, we didn't, but Lodero with a huge season, 20 goals. Boanga with 22 though for LAFC. You can see Chicharito had a good season. Joao Paulo with 9 assists along with 8 for Lodero. So huge season from Nicolas. I mean, he's coming back from injury technically. You can see 21 goals, 9 assists. He's down to 76 overall. So like I was saying, we have a lot of aging players, but Joao Paulo, despite being a bit older, went down. But Facundo Farias up to 78 overall, 12 goals, 4 assists. Jordan Morris had decency at 9-4. And Leo Chu came on late on the season with 4-1. Hope to see some more output from him in the next couple seasons. A couple guys like Nuhu had incredible. It was the AFCON Cup final against Mohamed Salah. That was incredible to see. It was Stephen Fry now down to the 69 overall. That's nice, but yeah, Brian Gibbs is going to be stepping in season 2, and we'll see how he performs there. So he's going to be getting the nod as a starting goalkeeper. In the end, in this season, it was a conference semifinals, round of 16 in the U.S. Open Cup, and group stage in the whatever cup. It doesn't matter. It's just freaking preseason cup. But we'll move on in season 2, and we're definitely going to make the big transfer that you guys see. And to make that happen, we had some interesting offers for Facundo Farias. I mean, younger player with high potential, $27.7 million. So we made a lot of profit on him. We made $17 million profit, and that's an excellent deal. As you can see, bought for $10 million and sold for $27.7 million, so $17.7 million profit. That's really big deal, and that's the type of transfers you've seen recently. Now we're getting rid of one of our designated players, and Rusnak, $7 million, and I think it just makes sense because now we're going to really try to develop Obed Vargas in this season, and Luis Suarez Pistolero is going to be signing for this club. Obviously, there was a lot of rumors of him joining Seattle Sounders previously, but he decided instead to go to Uruguay. It seems like he still has the options open in his mind of going to Seattle Sounders and joining Nicolas Lodero, obviously a former teammate at the international level. So Lodero is going to get him accustomed to life in Seattle, and he's going to be our number 9. Looks beautiful in that shirt, and he's definitely going to be scoring some big goals for us. He's still such a high rating as well. He's 81 overall, 82, despite being quite old. We did have to pay a decent fee for him, $15 million. But now we're going to go with another signing in John Brooks. I think it's a good signing because in real life, he's not playing for Benfica. And it seems like Greg Berhalter really likes players in MLS. So, hey, get him a chance to get back in the national team, transfer him for $13 million. He's going to be a key center back option for us. Obviously, he's going to be starting right away. You can see Suarez up top, Lodero at the cam, Morris on the left, João Paulo and Robert Vargas in the middle, on Leo Chu on the right. I think this is what I like about the balance of this MLS roster. You have guys, you have the key big players, and I think this is just constructed like MLS roster would be in real life. You see Gibbs at the 68 now starting in net. Because, I mean, MLS, you do have the designated player rules. You have these different rules that make things quite different. But now, in the Open Cup, we start out with a victory 3-2 over Red Bulls. So some of the younger players that end up getting a chance and coming through. And now, in the second round, we get a victory against Houston Dynamo. Suarez and Vargas coming up big as well. And now we're going to look for eventual replacements for Nicolas Lodero, a classic 10. I know you guys have seen him in some recent World Cups for Colombia. He is an incredible player with a left foot of gold. He just doesn't have the work rate and stamina to really make it in kind of modern, I feel like, European football. But in MLS, he would absolutely tear it up, having the space and time. So $11 million, we buy him China. At the start, he's going to be on the right and just has to cut in with the left foot and make plays. He's going to be kind of an additional number 10 almost is what we're going to look for him to play. And eventually he would replace Lodero is the idea of this signing. So a 2-1 victory now in MLS Open Cup versus the Columbus Crew. And now moving on to San Jose Earthquakes. We are going to make a little bit of changes here and there. You can see Vargas is going out, so we do have quite a bit more depth. Denny Leyva, who we sent out on loan, is actually turning into a solid player. So we end up beating San Jose Earthquakes 3-2. And this is big because in the end, actually, getting to the final now, the Seattle Sounders have won 4 Open Cups. The last one, however, was in 2014. It's interesting because MLS Open Cup, I think it's really not valued in a big way because it's just not it doesn't make a lot of money in the competition, you could say. And it's played, for some reason, all the finals in career mode in MLS are played at neutral stadiums, which doesn't happen actually in MLS. So coming up against Dallas here, we're going to try to get a first trophy in this career mode and get back to winning the Open Cup, which was done 4 times. Especially early on in Sounders history, they were really good in the Open Cups, really put emphasis on winning those trophies. Then eventually were able to get their first MLS Cup victory. But Kellen Rowe, interesting player, actually gets to start on the right because Chu and Quintero were tired. And Suarez, El Pistolero, is in the back of the net and makes it 1-0 in the 8th minute. So it's going to be a pretty, steady victory possibly. Dallas is not an amazing team in this game at the moment. They've lost all their key players. As Lodero ends up beating his man, gets through. A little bit of an own goal, it looked like, or when he was shooting, I'm not sure, it just went off of the defender, so it was counted as an own goal. Lodero will certainly take it, and we'll go up 2-0 as we look to bring back a trophy to Seattle. I mean, it would technically be almost a perfect season in real life because we would won the CONCACAF Champions League in the previous season and be pushing for the Open Cup and MLS Cup in this season. So a good ball here to Jordan Morris, who's going to look for a wide open Luis Suarez and a beautiful, classy finish from him to make these 3-0. And in the end, we kind of run away with this one, and that's what we wanted to see. So we ended up building, a pretty solid squad and playing a decent one in the final because, I mean, any final you want to win, obviously. And we do 6-0, actually. Ended up jumping the result. So Suarez hat trick, Rowe with a brace. And a lot of these players have been here from the start, like Morris and Lodero. There's a couple of guys like Kellen Rowe have been kind of just key side pieces in some of these recent MLS Cup victories, and it's nice to see them getting to lift a first trophy. But in the end, Philadelphia Union run away with the Eastern Conference while we finish a point behind LAFC, who knocked us out in the previous playoffs. And we would love to be able to knock them out in this one to be able to kind of get revenge back. But so a good season again that was, and I think we're just making that jump to be just a completely better side and build for the future as well. I think Quintero is a guy who will be able to contribute for a few more seasons. Lodero is starting to just reduce in his abilities. He's not the player he once was, obviously getting quite a bit older. But a 2-1 victory in the first round of the playoffs against the Dynamo. And moving on against Austin FC. And we're going to end up simming this one and grabbing a victory again. So in the end, we're going to be coming up against LAFC. And it's going to be an interesting match for sure. You can see that some of the presentation is really nice here. I think it's starting to capture a lot of the different fan bases in MLS, which is what you want to see in the game. And especially now that you're seeing more MLS stadiums, I think that's a big thing as well. I mean, I do wish there was more emphasis put on the Mexican League license also, because I think now with the popularity of both leagues, if they didn't lose the Mexican League license and put emphasis on the different supporters and stadiums and fans and clubs, it would have been huge as well. But LAFC still have Gareth Bale on the right, Arango up top as well, some quality players there. And you can see our side. I mean, it's a typical that we've had this since we did buy Quintero. So Morris, Lodero, Quintero as the kind of trident there. Suarez up top, João Paulo, Obed Vargas in the middle, Nuhu, Brooks, Gomez, Andrade, Rodan in defense, and Gibbs in net. So first chance ended up coming up fairly late into the match as LAFC ends up just missing on this glancing header. Now the 40th minute, Arango gonna hit the ball, just a huge save by Gibbs in the end. Now moving the ball to Vargas here to João Paulo, some good movement. Suarez gonna find Quintero, who's gonna cut the ball back and use his preferred left foot to finesse it into the back of the net. And that's what you generally see with Quintero. He loves to use that left foot. It's magical. If you guys haven't seen some of the clips of him playing with Colombia and some of his club football as well, I think he's always been suited for like South American football, and that's why he probably didn't prosper as much in Europe as people would like, and I think he would be huge in MLS as well. But now moving on, a huge save to Gibbs. Gibbs is just coming up big. I mean, the 6'7" frame is definitely showing right there, and he stretches out full stretch to just get a paw to that one and keep things level. Now Lodero unfortunately cannot make things 2-0. Will this come back to Hanes? João Paulo looking for Suarez. Now back to Lodero. Going to find Quintero again. And he's going to cut back. And another finish with that left foot in the side netting. And that's just what he can provide if he does play a little bit wider, cutting in. He can get on that left foot and make things happen, whether it be providing assist or finishing chances like this one we see right here. Now, yeah, it's possibly this one's in the bag. Possibly. We'll see if LAFC has a response. And that, again, on the replay is a very nice finish into that side netting. And that is how things would end 2-0. As we'll look, just kind of sum up the season. I mean, 26 goals, 6 assists for Luis Suarez. He had an incredible season. Then Jordan Morris with 16-6, kind of had a big comeback season, obviously, at the torn ACL. He's doing well. 7 goals, 2 assists from the youngster Obed Vargas. Lodero was 6-11. And a lot of these players, I think, were at the level where it makes sense for them to be kind of winning the MLS Cup and everything. With 21 goals for Suarez in the actual regular season. Actually, it does count the postseason as well. So it's not like completely accurate. I don't know why it doesn't have it separate, the playoffs from the regular season. But Gibbs with a bunch of clean sheets. So Lodero, Suarez, Gibbs are clearly the class of the side. I think at this point you really think of this as a strong winning MLS side. You have the kind of youngsters, the non kind of designated players like Rodan, Gomez, Andrade, Nuhu, Vargas, who are stepping up, and Morris, who've done well along with João Paulo. Then you have the key players such as Suarez, Lodero, and Quintero coming up big for the side. Now in the MLS Cup final, it's not played at our stadium for some reason. Again, like I said before, it's being played at a neutral site in Dignity Sports Health Park, which is the LA Galaxy Stadium before it was called StubHub. I don't know. I missed when it was just called StubHub. But the beautiful MLS Cup being displayed here as we want to bring the Sounders back to some MLS Club glory. And we'll see if we can make it happen. As Owen Vargas with a little ball over the top. Quintero moving to his left foot. What do you expect? And he's going to play a beautiful ball over the top to Suarez, who's going to finish that chance on the near post in the 2nd minute. And that is an amazing way to start this one with the beautiful left foot of Quintero linking up with Suarez. El Pistolero is going to put that in the back of the net easily. His technique is still there. He doesn't have the legacy maybe he did once before, but he still has that technique is something that's never going to leave, as well as the movement. But in the end, Union end, they actually just equalized with a beautiful goal very quickly. As the ball now goes to Jordan Morris, who's going to look for a cutback. Back to Suarez, to Lodero, and a big finish on that near post, as the connection between the guys who've really been here from the longest, Morris and Lodero, is always going to be there, even if the legs aren't there for either of them. As Morris at this point has like no ACL, and Lodero actually came back from ACL injury as well. But Julio Carranza ends up equalizing this in the 27th minute with a just little bit of some fortunate bounces going their way. But now Gibbs just reaching back, barely got his hand on that one to keep things 2-2, and another save. Perfect positioning on that near post to keep things level. And again, a reaching out, probably didn't need to make the save, but still showcasing his acrobatic ability and his height. Now Lodero being played over the top. He's going to take this down, and he's going to look for the cutback to Suarez, and a very well-worked goal to make things 3-2 now in the 39th minute. Usually you're not going to see Lodero win a ball over the top like that in this point in his career, but just had the strength to hold him off, then the touch and technique, and then the vision to make that final pass to play up Pistolero through, who looks like he could end up working on either a hat trick or a full, maybe even a 4-goal performance. We'll see. But again, a huge save from Gibbs, the youngster. And now Suarez being played through, and a perfect finish. The composure to make things 4-2 in the 50th minute. Can we run away with this one? It looks like it could be all ours now. The celebrations will be all for the Seattle Sounders supporters. But Philadelphia Union may have an answer as they do try to get one back. But Obed Vargas, the youngster, it steps in with the interception. Now Suarez playing the ball back to Lodero. Jordan Morris with his pace is going to be played in behind. Touches it down with his head. Look for the sweat across to Luis Suarez, who's going to hit his 4th goal of the day in the 76th minute. It's going to be all celebration for Seattle Sounders and their supporters now, as this one is clearly in the bag. And it's going to be one to remember, bringing the likes of Luis Suarez, another future replacement for Nicolas Lodero and Quintero, and of course keeping some of the young players like Obed Vargas and letting them develop at the club. Of course, guys like Alex Roldan, who is actually the brother of Christian Roldan, I mentioned, the right back who plays for El Salvador. Of course, Christian Roldan has played for the U.S. and who has stepped up big in international play, has really developed as a player since his time joining the Seattle Sounders. And guys like, of course, John Brooks, looking to redeem himself, get some game time, really. So I thought it was a fun little rebuild for me to do. Obviously, it's going to end in 2 seasons, not the longest one. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. A bit of one on the quicker end. But I do want to put out some more MLS rebuilds in the future, and I hope to put out, 1 or 2 within the next couple weeks. So with that, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Enjoy the celebrations. I love you all. Hit that like button. I'll be signing out now, and I'll catch you guys later.